Hey everyone, Eric Meehan here, and it is time for another video in the Message in the Bottle video series. And it is the 14th of November, and it is currently a lunar node biodynamically, but if you wait till about 8:30 tonight, it's going to be fruit day, starting of a fruit day. So if you're eating then or close to then, open up a nice wine, you'll be very happy. Otherwise, open up a nice wine anyway, because what the heck? Everybody's kind of these days, so just treat yourself. What the heck? So it's cold out here in Bangor, and I kind of wanted to talk about something. I am going to talk about something that happens all the time, and it's temperature extremes and treatment of wine in those temperature extremes. These are very relevant things. So first, let's talk about cold, because it is cold out here in Bangor, Maine, and this is the time of year when people may start to I don't know, forget about the wine that they left in their car, or other liquids, of course, but we're talking about wine here. So let's talk about wine. Yes, wine does not freeze at 32 degrees because it does have some alcohol in it, but it still does freeze. And depending on the alcohol content, obviously the higher the alcohol content, the lower the freezing point, but it still does, by about 15 degrees, all wine is going to start to freeze, right? And of course, we're getting into times when it's going to drop well below zero here in Maine. So if you forget something in the car, you're going to end up with wine slushy. You're also probably going to end up with maybe, hopefully, the only thing is a cork popped out and, slush coming out the end. Of course, you could end up with a broken bottle. So it is really important. And of course, things can freeze. So if you are going around and maybe you stopped here and then you're going to go over to the mall and you're going to do all your Christmas shopping, and maybe you're from like Calais or Fort Kent or something like that, and you're just kind of trying to get everything done. If you're out for a couple hours and it's wicked cold, and maybe you put it in the a lot of us drive trucks, so maybe you're putting stuff in the boot, in the back there, in the bed. Just stuff to think about. And certainly shipping, if you're thinking about shipping any sort of wine at this time of year, and it's going to be sitting not only in the trucks but also in, they go and they park the trucks overnight or whatever. So wine does freeze. Okay, let's talk about the other temperature extreme, which I'm sure we're all like, man, that sounds really nice today. But heat is also really, really dangerous for wine. Of course, you can get what we call cooked wine, right? So a lot of times, for instance, wine will come over in big containers and maybe get stopped in customs or something like that, and just be sitting on like the docks of Newark, New Jersey, just baking in the sun. Where does this become an issue? Well, a lot of people like sulfite-free or low sulfite wines. Now, the reason they add sulfur dioxide to wine is to stabilize it, because if there's sugars left over in that wine, and very often it's RS, residual sugar, right? And then there may still be some active yeast cells in that wine. If it gets too hot and that yeast gets reactivated, it will re-ferment in the bottle. It will start to eat the sugar, and all of a sudden you'll end up with a wine that you're going to open it and it might go pop, and you're like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be a still dry table wine, and it went pop. And maybe the taste isn't quite right. It's a little like zingy, but kind of flat. It's because some of that residual sugar got eaten by the yeast and started another fermentation in the bottle. Now, sometimes that's on purpose, right? Like Pétillant Naturel wines, things like that. That's great, but that's designed that way. If it's not designed to be a re-fermented in the bottle wine, it's not. Sometimes the cork will actually start to push out of the bottle a little bit. I've seen this. Sometimes it won't. But if you ever are like opening a bottle and it goes pop and it shouldn't, or if it tastes a little like almost frizzante, right? Like a Pétillant Naturel, something like that, put the cork back in, bring it back to us. We can deal with it, send it back up the line and make you guys whole. But that's, again, coming from a wine merchant, which is what this video series is really supposed to be, is advice on not doing that. Of course, if anybody, I used to work for a wine shipment company for a little while, and very often customers, for instance, in Houston would like order wine in the middle of summer, and we'd have to say, we can't ship it to you because it will get too hot en route. Similarly, we'd ship to the Northeast or whatever, and we'd say, hey, we've got to wait until the freezing temperatures are done, so maybe you're gonna have to wait till spring to get your wine. It's only in your best interest, because wine is a living organism, at least good wines, things that are made in massive factories and are sold at supermarkets and Walmarts, etc. You probably don't have to worry about those because they're dead anyway. But the stuff that I sell, that really good wine merchants sell, this is all very relevant. So I hope you learned something today about the temperature extremes and their effect on wine. We'll talk to you next time on Message in the Bottle. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.